Hegseth is worthy of note, worthy of celebration. So last Friday, a district court ruled that the Pentagon restrictions on the press, speaking specifically of the New York Times, but more generally, were not ran afoul of the First Amendment. As anybody that you know anybody that ever thought about the First Amendment and press freedoms, everybody realized that that was so. But we also have, every aspect of what Pastor Pete does at the Pentagon seems to be in bad faith. We have an attorney general that is not defending any of our speech rights in any way, shape, or form. In fact, she's conspiring with Trump and Hegseth to limit press access at the White House, at the Pentagon, and in every other place she possibly can. The ruling this past Friday, what the district court said, and the Pentagon said that they were going to appeal the ruling, was that viewpoint discrimination is one of the red flags attached to the First Amendment and press freedom, a red flag that says the courts will apply strict scrutiny. That's the highest. You have to have a profound reason, like we have troops going into harm's way, therefore we're not going to make a statement telling you the manner in which we're bringing troops to the theater, where they're landing, and the circumstances of the deployment, because it may endanger the lives of the troops. Nobody's going to argue with that. But when Pastor Pete says, I just don't like, as we saw a couple weeks ago, he had a hissy fit because people were taking a photo of his bad side. If a guy that young has a bad side, you got grievance. He also made a comment about which it's beautiful because he's shooting himself right in the foot when the Pentagon goes back into court and appeals this district court's judgment, saying that they're being completely fair and impartial, and no viewpoint discrimination. We welcome, or we discriminate against everybody equally. When Pete comes out and says, "Oh, I can't wait until CNN is bought out by my homeboy, David Ellison, so I don't have to listen to any more dumb CNN questions anymore." That, my friends, just like Donald Trump does, steps in shit or shoots himself in the foot or whatever sort of cute little analogy, cliche, or otherwise you like. They do it to themselves, and it's glorious, it's wonderful, because it makes our job easier when they are shitting themselves, and then they walk back into court, and the the judge is saying, "What's that smell?" They're Lindsay Halligan, others, Elena Hobbit. They are making it easy, and we need some help. When you have all three branches of government aligned against you, you need a couple freebies. You need some layups to kind of balance things out. And the old in the press world, or in freedom of speech, is the case. Not controlling 100% on this particular press freedom issue, but very important is it was from it was 89 or 1990. It's a Supreme Court case called Ward v. Rock Against Racism. I may have mangled that a little bit, but that's the general name. The Ward part I got. I'm like Donald Trump. Anything that's one syllable and only one vowel, I am much less likely to fuck it up. That's just me. So Ward v. Rock Against Racism, what that said is reasonable restrictions on speech. And they were very reasonable. What they said is in this the concert against racism, and it ties nicely into this freaking administration, that the city of New York said, absolutely, you can have your concert. You can rock out, but you're going to use our PA system, our speakers, because by doing that, we can control the decibel level. You know, you don't go Angus Young, you don't go AC/DC on us, right, and blow everybody's eardrums out because you're in a neighborhood. And the court said that's perfectly reasonable. You know, time, place, and manner. That's those are the areas that the Supreme Court or lower courts will look at. Is it reasonable regulation of speech as to time, place, and manner? Because you want to balance the interest. As I said, if Pastor Pete is making a reasonable argument that I can't brief you now because he doesn't have to explain himself, but he may have to after the fact, retrospectively, as the kids don't say anymore, that if there are troops or intelligence officers or whomever going into harm's way, we want them protected. We want freedom of the press. We want free speech. We want First Amendment out the yin yang. But we have to be sensitive to what their job is. We can criticize the fact that Pastor Pete is not doing a good job. But we have to think about the troops. We have to think about the privates and the corporals, the ones that are generally the ones that are going to get killed first, right? So we have to be respectful. It's a balancing thing. But think about a press room, regularly scheduled briefings, and Pastor Pete only wants his, I don't know the name of so many of these organizations that they purport to be from. Even Fox stood up and walked out with their brothers and sisters in arms at New York Times and the Atlantic and otherwise, and said, "Fuck you! No, we're not signing a pledge." Essentially, Hegseth was looking at for pre-clearance. We get to review what you're going to print before you print it. No, that's not how it's done, Pastor Pete. Call your reverend. Ask him. He probably knows. He's been sued enough, right? So this is the court case again with Ward v. Rock Against Racism. Is it reinforces the fact that the court's going to look at whether the restrictions are reasonable as to time, place, and manner. Right? We've seen in the in the press at protests, you will see that the police set up a police line, and they say, "You redhead dudes, get over on that side. You blue hats, get over on that side. Leave a path down the middle, and then hold up your signs and do your thing." right? That's the proper way to do it. You are. It is reasonable to place, right? Not geographical location, but actual the way that you are assembled. That is, it's you have freedom of assembly, but reasonable restrictions. That we need to get ambulances through to this large protest. We need access. We need police. We need it to be safe. So we're going to provide an area, and you'll see fenced-in areas and for protest. And the courts have held that that's reasonable, and I think it is too. You can't say you're not allowed to protest, but you can say reasonable time, place, and manner. So what's going to happen with Pastor Pete? He's going to lose. He's going to lose. He is grandstanding for his the homeboy in chief. He wants to show Trump that he is, whether that is it a version of owning the libs because he's picking on the New York Times and the Atlantic? Maybe. you know Trump isn't the one that put Jeffrey Goldberg from the Atlantic on the Signal chat. It wasn't his fault. They fucked up. They did it themselves, and they're behaving like complete idiots. And it's appropriate that the American people understand all the horrible shit that they're doing. They're the ones that are shooting men holding on to boats in the Caribbean. It's reasonable that the taxpayers, that the citizens are interested in that, in the Pentagon committing war crimes, who gave the orders, and who's going to ask the question. You need trained journalists. You know, you don't want. I'm not gonna. I'm not going down to Washington to scream at Pete. That's not my gig. I'll talk about it all day long, but you want those trained journalists to ask intelligent questions, get answers, get follow-ups, write stories, and share that information with us. That's a foundation of our country, and that's what the fascists are trying to take away from us. That's part of the fascist playbook. The fascist playbook, as endorsed by Vladimir Putin and as reinforced with the local color that is Project 2025, right? That you reduce all accountability. The press is capital A accountability. That's what it's all about. It's it goes it freaking John Adams was talking about press freedom. I mean, this is foundational to the United States of America. As the fascists try to chip away and push us further back from the seat of power so they can operate with another, like I'm a vocabulary teacher, going back to impunity from earlier this week. They want to operate with complete impunity. They want to be able. I'm Donald J. Trump. I'm almost a king. I want to do what I feel like doing, and I don't want people to tell me that I can't. I'm the capita tutti capi, or my Italian's a little rusty. So is my Godfather references. But Pastor Pete is only as good or bad as the man that leads him. He is a Fox News part-time host. Donald Trump is a game show host. Everybody else is stuck in the middle. Interesting if you didn't see the story about Marco Rubio having to go down to Miami and testify at the trial of one of his Miami homeboys, former congressional member who was accused of some bad things regarding sharing information back and forth Venezuela, lobbying, but perhaps overstepping the bounds and collecting a nice $50 million paycheck. So in the middle of the war, Rubio had to go down and testify in court in Miami, which is good. I mean, you saw Pam Bondi. This is all kind of First Amendment related, maybe. I'll make it that way. She's saying now that she will not testify under oath as she has been requested to by the Congress. She's drawing a line in the sand, knowing that Donald Trump has her back and that she won't be held accountable for it now. She may be in the future. I mean, pardons aside, you kind of get overwhelmed because you're like, well, is he going to pardon everybody in the freaking Republican Party? I mean, you never say never with TJT because the impunity part. That was impunity 3 days ago. It was trust and truth yesterday, and yeah, it's important to refocus and to ground ourselves in very basic concepts of of the Constitution of the United States, of human decency, and when you have people that are doing cruel acts for the purpose of the cruelty itself, because they're being allowed to, Stephen Miller and others, and whether that's through ICE in Minneapolis or otherwise. People, as we talked about yesterday a little bit, there was another story about a cancer patient that was under observation that would have. It's so hard with these things that, but for withholding funds, the Trump administration would say, yeah, of course they have cancer, they're going to die eventually anyway, so why are you bothering us? But you withhold all the funding for all the research, the promising research that, especially when kids, right? Chemo and radiation, a year ago, more than I ever want to do again. But I'm old and I'm mean, and I can. That's fine. Just another day. Just another puppy in the neighborhood passing by, which means that my four-legged assassin will hear that and say, Dad, why are you such an asshole that they're out playing on a nice day and I'm inside while you're running your yap? And that's a reasonable argument for a small 10-pound, 11-pound, 12-pound assassin to make on a beautiful day. But I just wanted to hit on Pastor Pete Hegseth, the victory last Friday, and that is we get so few in the courts. That's not fair. In the district courts, we're doing quite well. The Supreme Court shadow docket, not doing so well. The Supreme Court more generally, it's mixed. We have some very important cases coming up, and we have the case that was argued a few days ago from Mississippi, but it's almost 30 states that it affects as far as the mail-in ballot. That's a big thing. It's a big deal. Big effing deal, as one Joe Biden said. But these small victories over very consequential, elemental rights that we enjoy as Americans and we count on and they've been trammeled upon by Donald J. Trump. Just any opportunity to slap them back and say no. So we're going to appeal. Of course, you're going to appeal it. Well, we're coming back at you, and then we're going to come back again. So, in any case, pleasure. We'll keep it short today. I'll be good to the puppy. Wish you a great day. You know, the whole surprised but not amazed, amazed but not surprised with corruption and the insider trading. We may need to have a different definition or a different term because there's so much of it with the prediction markets with the Trump family. The looking at the timeline again from the Monday trades on the oil oil down, SPY up, synergies and correlations, all within, you know, was it like 14, 13 minutes from the time, all the trades within a couple minutes, 13 minutes after the Trump made the announcement. You know, it is suggestive, even if you are part of the cult. If you're part of the resistance, then it's a fucking crime. So, yeah, pleasure. I'm going to lean into the phone here because the sun just came out behind me. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. And let's get a little shade so I can actually see what I'm doing.